Hey Froggy friends, Kirostyle here, welcome back to Umineko When They Cry, episode 5, End of the Golden Witch. Thank you so much for joining me here on stream. Hey everyone, good to see you, good to see you. I'm sure you're all wondering what happens next after I left you on a cliffhanger last week. But first we're going to summarize what happened. So in the last stream, we made it to the second twilight, and the victim was Hideyoshi, but unfortunately Natsuhi was hiding in the closet of that room because of the threat from the man on the phone. So then once they discovered Hideyoshi's body, Erika called a meeting and said that she had solved the murders. And so she called together this imaginary, illusory court of witches and basically started presenting her truths. And she basically wove an entire scenario where the only character that doesn't have an alibi is Natsuhi. And so Natsuhi is basically being seen to be the culprit behind the crime. But we know that she is not the culprit. However, everyone else thinks that she's the culprit. So she is getting like a lot of flack from everyone. Like Ava's like beating the crap out of her, and everyone else is judging her, and she's kind of lost all hope. Even Beatrice isn't able to help her. So the game was about to end, but then Badler stepped in to try to save Natsuhi. Unfortunately, none of Badler's theories or truths work with the current set of rules with Nox's commandments for mystery novels and pre-established red truths. So in other words, it's a pretty desperate situation, and Badler needs to find his way out of this in order to protect the sanctity of Beatrice and his game. Now, if you were here last stream, I know some of you were weaving some theories to try to figure out how he would do it, because there is a way out. In fact, there's more than one way out. And even though I have a general idea of what happens, it's been a long time, so I don't remember the specifics of what happens here. So I was also trying to craft some theories and trying to see, what could he say that doesn't violate any of these truths? What could he say that could get everyone out? Like, it's a really fun thought exercise. Like, again, this visual novel doesn't have, like, gameplay, but it has a lot of riddles and a lot of, like, logic experiments that are kind of fun to think about as kind of a form of gameplay. So, Badler failed to defend, and it seems like he's at the end of his rope, and that's where we're picking off here. So hey, Sai and Kieran and Aramon, thank you so much for coming to the stream. I really appreciate it. I see that you redeemed the stretch while I was in the waiting room, so here, we'll do a stretch. There we go. Yeah, okay, we're all happy now, right? We're all set? Okay, it's time to find out what happens. Now, I think there's only like maybe an hour left of episode 5, and then there's a short tea party, and then there's like about an hour of the epilogue, the question mark, question mark, question mark. So I think the stream will be under 3 hours, but I will split it on YouTube so that we can divide it up into nice digestible segments. Okay, let's get going. Each time I brandished my desperate blue truths, Delanor and the others' red truths knocked me down to the floor. It was getting hard to even stand back up again. Does that mean my body is telling me that I'm about to surrender? To the truth, where Aunt Natsuhi is the culprit? Their red truth is getting more and more perfect. Each time I think I can slip through a chink in their armor, Delanor smacks me down with the red longsword of Nox. Vito. That's enough, battler. Now, the endless torture that torments me, no, us, will finally end. Let us fall together into the depths. Ugh. I don't want to see Vito like this. Her Majesty, as the ruler of the Golden Land, her enthusiasm as my rival, are completely gone. She's just a pitiful woman who's been trampled over and lost all hope, with tears streaming down her face and a tragic smile that I can't bear to look at. Does your truth no longer exist? Hey Hakaze, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you're having a great day. No, I have one. Last thing. And that is a different truth, where Natsui isn't the culprit. That's not it. All I can do is prove that Natsui isn't the culprit. After that, I can't show what the real truth is at all. But even so, maybe at least you'll be saved that way. Why? I can show without a doubt that Natsui isn't the culprit. However, I cannot show a different truth. If Erika's truth is dispersed, the crime will return to darkness, and there might still be room for you to exist. Yeah, if you can do it. But if you can't show a new truth, that means you're incompetent and useless as a player. I'll have you vanish from this game board for all eternity. At this point, the Game Master is Lambda Delta, and she is there too. This probably doesn't mean losing a single game, but being banished from this game for all eternity for losing. From what the witches have said in the past, I can faintly imagine the place pieces are sent when they're banished. It's known as the Depths of Oblivion, an eternal darkness that lies on the far side of an eternal oblivion, and where there's no concept of life or death. I'm going to disappear, aren't I? However, Bito will remain. As long as Bito remains, no matter how suspicious Aunt Natsui is, there will always remain space for the witch to be the culprit. In other words, room for Aunt Natsui to not be the culprit. As long as that space exists, someone will eventually expose the truth. It doesn't have to be me. Anyway, eventually someone will smash this fake truth to pieces. I understood that the time had come to abandon myself for the sake of this other person who would eventually appear. For the sake of the real truth. Well, it looks like I'll have to break my promise to kill you after all. Don't leave me as the only one alive. I'll disappear with you. Let that be your final tribute to me. I beg you, if you just do this one thing, I don't need anything else. Have you used up everything you have? I really am disappointed in you, Ushimiya Battler. Quickly, perform his requiem. That way I'll have an open field in which to expose Natsui-san's sin. These guys really are interesting. Beatrice. Ushimiya Battler. But I've gotten tired of this. You aren't needed in our game. Do it, Delanor. This is the end. If you still have one last bit of power, let me see you muster it now, in your last moments. Ugh. Ugh. It's small, but it's a sparkling red truth. The last trump card Vergilia gave me. Erika, this takes your theory back to square one. If you can, why not go ahead? Take this! Ushimiya Natsui is not the culprit! The red truth is simply truth with no evidence or proof needed. This will make Delnor stagger. Even if that's all it does, it's the first and last strike I can make. Nox's second. It is forbidden for supernatural agencies to be employed as a detective technique. Huh? My red truth was blown away by Delnor's red longsword. In this court, if anyone other than witches is going to speak the red truth, they'll have to construct an appropriate proof for it. Erica has been following this procedure, right? True. Erica hadn't used the red herself even once so far. She always had Bern Castell, a witch, repeat her statements. Your red truth isn't something you obtained for yourself. It's a supernatural truth given by a paranormal being. In other words, it isn't reasoning. It's no better than a random thought. In that case, if I have Virgilia say the same red truth, where is Virgilia? If you are to present that red truth, you must construct an appropriate argument. Can you do that? No. It's impossible. I just have the truth that Annatsu isn't the culprit, without any basis or evidence. See, real truth is a very fragile thing. Does real truth exist? And is it necessary? Even without it, the tale will continue on. Battler. Come on, Battler. Prove the red you have shown. If you cannot, this is goodbye. Then, goodbye. Sorry, Bito. Don't say that. Thanks for sticking around with me. It was such a blood-stained tale. But it was fun. The trial is now finished. Finished! Finished, 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 finished! Finished, 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 finished! Finish, 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 finish! Etc. Okay, guys, I think it's finished. Die the death. Sentenced to death. The great equalizer is death. With that, the trial for the 5th game ended. The detective, Fruto Erica, accused the culprit, Ushimiya Natsuhi. There are 3 riddles the detective must explain. The first is the whodunit. Who is the culprit? As previously stated, it is Ushimiya Natsuhi. The second is the how done it. How did they carry out the crime? During the hour between 24 o'clock on October 4th, 1986, and 1 o'clock the next day, Ushimiya Natsui went to the cousin's room on the 2nd floor of the guest house and the servant waiting room on the 1st floor of the mansion. There she carried out the murders. It is only possible for the crime to have taken place during that hour. And for that 1 hour, alibis have been proven for all characters, except Natsuhi. From the sky, a massive red longsword, even greater in size than the one Delanor had, came crashing down like a thunderbolt, piercing through Badler's heart and pinning him in place while he still stood. In that instant, Beatrice became a golden splash and faded away, and her former minions disappeared as well. As the heartless witches looked down at the cathedral's center, laughing coldly, all that remained was Badler, with the red longsword sticking through him, and Delanor. Ugh. Rest in peace, Ushimiya Badler. What a shame. I thought you were a more capable person than this. Ugh. Badler blew bubbles of blood, closed his eyes slowly, and died. Delanor stared on in silence, then turned on her heels when she saw his life leave him. After that, all that remained was the corpse of the sorrowful man, pierced by the sword that acted as a massive red grave marker, and lit by the faint glow let in from the cathedral's skylight. And then, there is the third riddle the detective must uncover. The final riddle. The why done it. Why did they commit the crime? The motive. In third-rate mysteries, there's no need to uncover this. After all, even if you don't expose the motive, the culprit will just confess it when all's said and done. However, Fruto Erica was first-rate, so she would expose even this. Natsuhi was being confined in the parlor under everyone's watchful gazes. Then Erica made use of everyone to diligently and persistently search all places, even Natsuhi's room, for clues about her motive. Well, now that we have all gathered, just what is it that drove Ushimiya Natsui-san to commit these terrible murders? Through my investigation, I, the detective Fruto Erica, have discovered the general outline that explains this. I would like to announce it now. Everyone remained silent, urging her to continue. Erica tossed some of Natsui's possessions that had been confiscated onto the table. First, these are past diaries that were discovered in Natsui-san's room. They have barely been used at all in recent years, but they describe in detail the period shortly after she became part of the Ushimiya family. Most of them were locked, but in order to find the truth behind this crime, I used my authority, which everyone has acknowledged, to destroy the locks on all of them. How barbaric! Reading another person's diary. If we're barbaric, what does that make you, murderer? A criminal like you has no right to privacy. And this is what I found from these diaries. Natsui-san ended up married to Kraus-san due to special circumstances. I imagine that all of you here know much more about this than I do. Natsui-san and Kraus-san were not married because of love or as a normal arranged marriage. If anything, it was more like taking a hostage. That is not true! This is written on the 24th page of this red diary. I am a hostage, being imprisoned by the Ushimiya family under the guise of marriage. However, if everything can be resolved this way... Natsui-san, right here you already acknowledged that you were a hostage. Kumasawa-san, you have served Natsui-san since the first time she came here, right? Could you tell me about what it was like at the time? Yes, that is correct. I did catch wind of something similar to what you describe. I think that by now, only Dr. Nanjo and I know of the details regarding Madam's marriage. Hey Lord, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate it. Very true. That was during Kinzo-san's golden era, when he did whatever he pleased. He defeated all of his enemies and expanded his financial power. Natsui-san's family was one of those enemies. As though the time to talk had suddenly come at hand, Kumasawa and Nanjo openly delved into territory that should never have been touched upon again. This was concerning the period during which Kinzo was most feared for his ferocity. It has been said that, though Kinzo had many assets and connections, he held a grudge after being looked down upon by members in the elite as being an upstart. Because of this apparently, Kinzo wanted to find Kraus a wife from a noble family, and he used this to raise the Ushimiya family's status. Then he overcame Natsui's family in a financial struggle, and proposed that a marriage be performed as a method of reconciliation. And the person he picked was Natsui. Natsui had been raised to be a clean and pure in the family of Shinto priests, making her a true noble lady. By choosing her, not only did Kinzo cause them the worst possible humiliation, he also won what he considered to be a nice trophy. So that marriage proposal was humiliating to Natsui from the very beginning. Regarding the aforementioned facts, both Kumasawa-san and Dr. Nanjo's claims just now match with the contents of the diaries. Therefore, since the time Natsui-san first took the name Ushimiya Natsui, she has held a strong resentment against the Ushimiya family. What do you have to say, Natsui-san? Do you acknowledge this? All of the cold gazes turned to face Natsui. Yes. It's true that I thought that at first. I thought I was being forced into a marriage without love, a hostage under the guise of a bride. However, my husband never viewed me as a mere hostage. He understood what I had gone through and gave me compassion and affection. My husband was the only person who could understand me. I see. That makes sense. And there are many scenes in your diaries showing that Kraus-san knew of your difficulties and showed kindness. However, on page 47 of this diary, you describe these moments as being unpleasant, correct? Let me read aloud. When Kraus tries to show kindness, it only makes me feel more wretched. Sometimes I think he might even be trying to humiliate me further. Therefore, we can tell that Natsui-san repaid her husband's kindness with contempt. Wait! Yes, I may have thought that at the beginning! Back when I was still overwhelmed with unease, I couldn't accept his kindness. I wrote of my distrust from time to time. But I eventually realized he was sincere, and grew to accept his feelings. Well, nothing like that appears in any of these diaries. I never even wrote it down. Those feelings were so secret. Judging by many diverse bits of evidence and testimony, it's clear that you despised your husband, and there exists no evidence that you eventually accepted his feelings as you claim. I love my husband! You can't find any testimony... Or, who's talking here? Well, you can't find any testimony or evidence that could be used to elevate that statement to the level of red truth, right? Does anyone need evidence to say they're in love? You can't trust anything besides the red truth. Statements that aren't red don't count as evidence at all, and they can't be trusted at all. All non-red letters are falsehoods that exist to deceive me. I love you. Who would believe that when spoken with the white text? No non-red words can ever be trusted. All I can trust in this world are the red truth, and the piece of evidence I offer to my master to gain it. You lying human who can't speak the truth. Humans lacking the red truth have no right to speak of love, or the heart, or truth. Did you know? Men aren't as stupid as you women think they are. Men never really take it seriously when a woman says, I love you. What a pitiful person. I see that you've never truly loved someone. Romance is unnecessary for a detective. I don't think I've ever used the word romance except to explain a motive for murder. No matter what you say, we loved each other. I should be apologizing to my husband for always writing down my complaints and nothing else. But I've devoted my heart to him. Even if I can't prove it, that is the truth. Rejected. You just don't know when to give up, do you? By now, due to evidence and testimony, it's clear you hated both your husband and the Ushimiya family. That's right. I can't even count the number of times I've heard you complain. Oh, and you've never talked behind Hideyoshi-san's back? Damn it, you killed my husband! How dare you say that? Die and apologize to my husband! Please cease your violence, Ava-san. This is now the precious moment where I question and convict the culprit. It's not yours, okay? Well then, over the next several years, she appeared to have gotten used to her new way of life. But in actuality, an intense hatred still lurked in her heart. Taking that into consideration, there would be nothing odd at all about her deciding to take revenge. Don't act like you know what I'm thinking! Each time Erika read Natsui's diaries one after another, she exposed more of Natsui's emotions during those painful days. Natsui hadn't written them to leave those words behind. She had written to forget those memories and seal them away. That's why she had written down her feelings during those painful days, locked them up and sealed them away for all eternity. However, Erika claimed that these were Natsui's true, hidden feelings had been locked away and concealed. Since it had already been concluded that Natsui was a murderer, everyone accepted Erika's claim. By this point, the red truth wasn't even necessary to establish Natsui's motive. As long as the reason seemed plausible, everyone would believe it. No matter how much Natsui might object, no one would believe her. No one could accept the truth that Natsui spoke of about the days she had spent loving her husband. That had been painted over by a false truth in which she hated her husband and swore revenge against him. The pen of the gods that composed the truth had been given to Erika. And so what? Who gives a damn about your past? Murder? Murder? Stop that! I can understand how Natsui-san felt. I always thought this day would come eventually. Poor thing. Poor thing. I think she's just one of the pitiable victims of father's wild life. I knew of the pain in Madam's heart. I always tried to support her, but I failed, and look what has happened. I don't even understand the emotions of love and hate. You will someday. It can become a reason to live, and also a reason to kill. Is Natsui really the culprit? Well, now that you mention it, there is just one person besides Natsui-san that might be the culprit. What? Hey, are you serious? Why didn't you say something that important sooner? Natsui-san, the truth is, there is one person besides you for whom the crime was possible. If you truly claim that you aren't the culprit, it means that person must be the culprit. Huh? Who is it? Who? Ushimiya Kinzo-san. Ugh. Early this morning, Kinzo-san went outside through the window of the third floor study, and his location is unknown. Isn't that right, Battler-san? Ugh. Just like Natsui-san, Kinzo-san has no alibi whatsoever. The truth is, for this crime, it was possible for Kinzo-san to be the culprit as well. I just assumed that he never existed in the first place, so I totally forgot about him up till now. Allow me to apologize. She didn't look shy or apologetic in the slightest. Erika bowed in as unpleasant a manner as ever. She had held a grudge ever since her defeat in the study battle. Natsui-san, you gained Kinzo-san's trust, and are the person who served closest to him, right? So, shouldn't you know better than anyone else? This incident is actually the crime of the family head, carried out by Ushimiya Kinzo-san. You dare call father a criminal? Don't worry. I've prepared more than enough evidence and testimony to explain the why done it if Kinzo-san was actually the culprit. If you say, for example, that you've put yourself on the line to cover for Kinzo's crime, I am more than capable of supporting you. Ever since the late period of the author, Ellery Queen, even the theory created by the detective can sometimes change the plot itself. You really can't afford to be careless in this day and age. I won't let you treat father like the culprit. Natsui-san, calm down. Place your hand on your chest and think carefully. If you accuse Kinzo-san of being the culprit, this entire case will be resolved. You will no longer be held accountable for another person's actions, and your honor will be restored. In other words, by pushing the crime onto Kinzo, Natsui would be saved. However, I have been entrusted with the honor of the Ushimiya family by father. Did you really think that I would defile father's honor, the Ushimiya family honor, just to clear away the false accusations made against me? Of course, Natsui knew that she wasn't the culprit, and she also knew that Kinzo wasn't. So being framed herself and pushing the blame onto Kinzo were both unacceptable, unbearable outcomes. Are you sure? As I've already established quite thoroughly, alibis have been proven for everyone except you. If you will not accuse Kinzo-san, then this time it really will be clear that you are the culprit, and that will become the truth, right? If you intend to label me as the culprit and call that your own personal truth, then do whatever you like. I am sure that God knows of my innocence. Eventually he will prove it. If it came to a choice between her and Kinzo being framed, Natsui would sacrifice herself. Perhaps that was her way of protecting the Ushimiya family's honor. Natsui. And I even gave you a chance. Stupid woman. This future where your name will eventually be cleared doesn't exist for any of you. Not for any of the pieces on this board. Natsui had made her decision. If they were going to call her the culprit, she would let them. She boldly rejected the thought of selling Kinzo's honor to gain a momentary truth where she wasn't the culprit. And therefore, the tale was woven with her name as the culprit. In the future, if the accusations against her are proven false, this tale would probably be rewritten. However, that future will never come. I think. Truth is a fleeting thing. Even if I am a good person until my death. Even if some heartless person, after my death, overwrites the records and says I wasn't a good person. And if that is shared with everyone else, then even all the goodness in which I lived my life could be overwritten easily. And so I think that I won't live as a good person for all eternity. If you claim that Kinzo-san was not the culprit, he will need an alibi proving that the crime was impossible for him. Otherwise, we cannot truly be certain you are the culprit, Natsui-san. Erika is probably known for a long time. Kinzo is nothing more than an illusion to make the inheritance problem more uncertain. However, it would be very hard to prove that he was an illusion. The only way to do this would be to confirm Kinzo's death. But as has been made known by the Red Truth in a previous game, Kinzo died a long time ago. And in this 5th game, his corpse hasn't even appeared. In a situation like this, it wouldn't be easy to absolutely prove his death. If Kinzo's death was confirmed, it would practically erase that defeat in the study. It was the only way Erika had of removing the humiliation of that loss. And there was something that could confirm Kinzo's death almost as certainly as real proof. And that was the confession of the culprit. It would mean having Natsui herself acknowledge that Kinzo no longer existed in this world. That way, it would be acknowledged that Erika's reasoning in the study was correct. That loss would be painted over, and it would be rewritten as Erika's victory. Adler hung suspended by Delano's red longsword. Vito had disappeared by having her existence denied, and her minions had gone too. In this cathedral that they had disappeared from, only Natsui and the witches convicting her remained. So, you still claim that Kinzo is alive and remains somewhere on this island? That's correct. Father is in good health. No matter what anyone says, I will not change my statement. The Red Truth from the previous games says that Kinzo is already dead. But that's not enough to satisfy you, right, Burn? Yeah, that's right. I'm after a perfect victory. So there's nothing interesting about getting a checkmate just because Kinzo's death has been confirmed by the Red. I want to win by forcing Natsui to say that she's resigned. Then why don't you try it? Show us what you've got. My master, let us now achieve a perfect victory. Of course. Natsui, you say Kinzo is certainly alive, but you don't know where he is, correct? Yes, that's right. Father left through the window and his location is unknown. He is so troublesome sometimes. Lambda. I'm gonna make Kinzo's location from 24 o'clock until the morning absolutely clear. From 24 o'clock until morning, Kinzo stayed in the same room. Huh? Well, that's true. He was a corpse after all. No, I'm sorry. That's right, totally right. I won't butt in. It sounds interesting, so keep going. From now on, I'll use the word Kinzo to refer to the living Kinzo. After all, Natsui claims he's alive. I'll say more with the Red Truth. Kinzo does not exist anywhere outside the mansion. Isn't that right, Erika? Yes, my master. I searched for Kinzo all over the premises outside the mansion. However, I was unable to find him. Because of the detective's authority, Erika could find all clues. Therefore, if Erika was unable to find a hint that Kinzo existed outside the mansion, it was the same as proving that Kinzo didn't exist outside the mansion. Therefore, Bernkastel repeated that truth of Erika's. Kinzo does not exist outside the mansion. Hey, Natsui, if Kinzo does exist, then this means he must be somewhere inside the mansion. Do you have any idea where Kinzo might be hiding? Yeah, knowing Erika, she probably physically, literally searched everywhere outside the mansion on the entire island. Like, that is such an Erika thing to do. How could I know? After all, think of the weather. There would be nothing strange about him leaving the courtyard to hide somewhere in the mansion and dry the rain off. From this point forward, I will repeat the same thing several times. I'll give you many chances for an honorable surrender. If you're too stubborn, you'll lose even your true honor. No matter how you threaten me, I will not give in. I just love teasing pieces like you. Then let us continue. For the aforementioned reasons, it is unthinkable that Kinzo-san could have been somewhere outside the mansion. So first off, I performed an extensive search of the 3rd floor, where the study is. However, there was nowhere he could have been hiding. We couldn't find any trace of Dad on the 3rd floor. So then, where is he, Natsui-san? I don't know. If he isn't on the 3rd floor, perhaps he's hiding in the basement. Ah yes, the basement. The boiler room, that underground storage room. Every part of your suspicious basement was also included in my search. Yes, I searched too. I didn't see Father anywhere. I'll say it again. Where is Kinzo-san, Natsui-san? In that case, he was probably on the 1st floor, or the 2nd floor. Yeah, meanwhile, Kinzo was following exactly 3 feet behind Erika, just out of her field of vision, giggling hysterically. That's why she never found him. I see. Process of elimination does tell us that, doesn't it? We then thoroughly searched the 1st floor, and the result? Nothing. We were unable to find Father. That reminds me of, like, when I was young and I used to play, like, hide and seek with my, like, family or my friends. I was sneaky. What I would do is I would hide somewhere, just out of sight, and then just out of sight, but where I could still kind of see them, like the seeker, and I would wait for the seeker to finish searching a room, and then leave the room, and then I would go and hide in one of the places that they already searched in, and so they would search everywhere else, and they wouldn't be able to find me. Yeah, that's the way to play. That's what Kinzo was probably doing, right? I'll say it again. Where was Kinzo-san, Natsui-san? That he was probably hiding on the 2nd floor. How should I know where Father was hiding? Are you sure about that? Do you really not know where Kinzo-san was hiding? Madam knows where Kinzo-san was hiding? Thanks, Goda. That's insane. That can't be true. Both Shannon and Cannon knew that Kinzo was already dead, so they didn't have a clue how Erika would use a phantom of a person who didn't exist to corner Natsui. Kinzo is nowhere outside the mansion. Kinzo isn't on the 3rd floor. Kinzo isn't in the basement. Kinzo isn't on the 1st floor. Therefore, the only place Kinzo could possibly exist is the 2nd floor. I accept that red truth. Natsui, Kinzo should be somewhere on the 2nd floor. Will you still not tell us where he's hiding? No matter how many times you ask, it won't change the fact that I don't know. Erika, start from the beginning and go in order, investigating the entire 2nd floor. Use the detective's authority to avoid missing a single clue, and to see through all types of hidden doors and hidden rooms. Yes, my master. That Natsui-san's pretty dumb, isn't she? She still can't see where we're going with this. No need to talk more than is necessary. Come on, Erika. Take everyone with you and begin the investigation. Erika used her detective's authority to take everyone, even Natsui, and go up to the 2nd floor to search every room starting at one end. Even for rooms that were thought to have nothing at all to do with the crime, Erika did not relax her search in the slightest. Her search was thorough in every single room, as they moved through them all. So you still won't tell us where Kinzo-san is hiding? Stop saying that! How many times do I have to say that I don't know? Natsui-san, even if we do keep searching, we'll never be able to find Kinzo-san at this rate, right? Huh? Of course. Kinzo doesn't exist. No matter how long the search continues, it's just a waste of time. This was known by Erika, the witch's piece, and Natsui, the one who knew the truth. In that case, the search will end in the room at the far end of that corridor. In other words, it would have been proven that Kinzo wasn't in any of the rooms except that one. What do you think about that? He isn't on the 3rd floor, or the 1st floor, or the basement. And he isn't in any of the rooms on the 2nd floor except the one at the end. So if he really did exist inside the mansion, it had been proven that he could only exist in that room at the end. In other words, this was Hempel's Raven. Because it had been established that a living Kinzo couldn't exist anywhere except the final room at the end of the corridor, that automatically meant that a living Kinzo existed in that final room. And that room at the end of the corridor was... They're literally playing Phasmophobia at this point. Which room was at the end of the corridor again? Lambda Delta was munching on a refill of popcorn. That's Natsui's room, Lady Lambda Delta. In other words, Kinzo had no place to hide, except inside Natsui's room. Do I need to say it in red? Of course! Kinzo does not exist anywhere outside Natsui's room. Well then. That means this room is the only place left. It means Kinzo-san isn't anywhere outside this room. Isn't this my room? Where exactly in my room do you claim Father is hiding? In a rage, Natsui unlocked the door to her room and pointed inside. Of course, Kinzo was nowhere to be seen. Do you see Father anywhere in here? Look! I see. It looks like he isn't there. Did he realize we were coming and escape out the window? If Kinzo wasn't in this last room, it meant that he didn't exist anywhere. There was no living Kinzo outside the mansion. There was no living Kinzo inside the mansion. Therefore, no living Kinzo existed. However, Erika didn't make that argument. She had pointed that out herself, without making a checkmate. It was because Burn Castell didn't want to win by cornering Natsui of the red truth. She wanted to force Natsui to accept a humiliating resignation. I have not only been searching for Kinzo-san himself all this time, I've been looking for signs that Kinzo-san hid somewhere between 24 o'clock in the morning. And no such signs have existed. In other words, from 24 o'clock until morning, Kinzo was always holed up in the same room. And that was Natsui's room. It means the checkmate of Red Truth has finally quartered the piece known as Kinzo's Phantom inside Natsui's room. Hey Natsui-san, this means you were with Kinzo in this room until morning. Do you still claim that you don't know where he was? I'll acknowledge it with the red truth. During the night between 24 o'clock and morning, a living Kinzo could not have existed anywhere outside Natsui's room. I permit you to use this truth to advance your argument about how he could have existed only in Natsui's room. Oh, I remember where they're going with this. Oh, that's dirty. That's playing dirty. A plea bargain. Hey, Natsui. Even someone as stupid as you must have realized the fix you're in now. This is your last chance. Make Kinzo the culprit. Call the Ushimiya family head a criminal and crush the head's honor to protect yourself. If you show that you have the guts to do that, I'll change the plot into one of a tragic heroine taking the blame to protect the family head. Father is innocent! I cannot call Father a criminal! She's refused the deal. Okay, Burn. Do it. Can you guys see where this is going? During the night between 24 o'clock and morning, there exists no place for a living Kinzo to exist except inside your bed. What? What do you mean by that? After conducting a thorough search of this room, and a detailed scientific examination, I discovered that Kinzo did not exist anywhere in this room between 24 o'clock and morning. However, your bed is the only exception. A shocked silence dominated the room. Natsui completely forgot to close her open mouth. last night, around the time the gold was discovered, so probably around 23 o'clock, Kinzo-san escaped from the window on the 3rd floor and snuck into the bed in your room. And as an even more unfortunate result from my investigation, it has been proven that you were also asleep in that bed. I'll repeat it. From 24 o'clock until morning, a living Kinzo could only have existed inside Natsui's bed. And last night, Natsui also slept in that same bed. Wow, look at how close they were. So you two were so close to each other, you slept sharing the same pillow. Blue truth. Therefore, it is suspected that Ushimiya Natsui and Ushimiya Kinzo had sexual relations with each other. Why else would a man and a woman share the same bed all night long? How rude! To think that I would do such a thing with the father I respected so much! I won't allow you to say such things! Natsui, use the red truth to counter this blue truth. Of course, since you aren't a witch, there's no red that you can use. So I'll speak with the red truth in your place. At least I will, if you can show me convincing proof. How could such proof even exist? How low are you willing to sink to mock me? Damn it! Yeah, what if they had bunk beds? A magical retracting bunk bed. Natsui tried to attack Erika, but Ava pinned her arms behind her back so she couldn't do anything. How unsightly. In order to take revenge against the Ushimiya family, you first schemed to take control of everything the family owned. For that reason, you used your body as a weapon and ensnared Kinzo-san. I never did anything of the sort! I have never given my body to anyone except my husband. I understand why you want to deny it, but testimony from several witnesses have already made it clear that you've had repeated secret meetings with Kinzo-san. After all, last night you went to say goodnight to Kinzo-san, with just the two of you alone in his study, right? And beyond that, I've collected multiple bits of testimony regarding clear traces of sexual intercourse. Are you insane? Who was it? Who said something so ridiculous? Goda? Shannon? Was it Ava-san? Yes, they must be behind something this ludicrous. Who was it? Who? Ugh. I've received testimony from those involved. Wow, this is pretty fatal. No room for doubt now. Hey, Natsui. Looks like you don't even have a scrap of honor left now. But I'll give you one final chance before I build you the worst of all possible fragments. Go ahead and say the Kinzo wasn't there, okay? Yeah, of course she suspects Goda first. That's right. You sure are stubborn, Natsui. The Ushimiya family has already been torn to ribbons, right? Are you really that desperate to confuse the inheritance problem by pretending Kinzo exists? This is my final challenge. In protecting the honor of the Ushimiya family, which father entrusted me with, my husband's business will definitely succeed. Until we could use that to repay our debts, I cannot hand over the inheritance of the Ushimiya family. I will protect father and my husband's honor. That is my mission. Wanting to protect the honor of the dead is an admirable trait. He's not one of the dead. We're talking about the honor of a convenient delusion inside Natsui's head. The real Kinzo never once ordered Natsui to protect that honor. As Natsui screamed, she fell down to her hands and knees. She no longer had any way to reject the fake truth that Bernkastel and Erika had weaved. By my name as the Game Master Lambda Delta, I acknowledge Lady Bernkastel as the victor of this game. If anyone has any objections, state your name now. Of course, there were none. All of those who might have objected have been erased. No objections. Burn, this is your victory, and a wonderful victory it is. Now you must weave up the fragment of the truth. Sure, I'll go weave up the truth. This is the truth of this sad, pathetic tale. Though I did want Natsui to acknowledge her crime while half laughing, half crying. After all, that's standard in the genre, right? So I don't know if you guys kind of caught on to this, but they've been using the word fragment a lot. When they say fragments, they mean it's like an alternate timeline. Like there's multiple possible timelines, and like each game was a separate timeline. Each game is its own fragment. So they're saying that since this has been proven to be true, Burn Castell is going to create an alternate timeline where Natsui was the culprit and did all these things. Or maybe not that she did all these things, but that she was accused and proven truthfully by everyone else that they think that she did all these things. After being forced into a marriage she hadn't wanted, Natsui developed a grudge against the Ushimiya family and was filled with a desire for revenge. From the trial synopsis, page 3. Natsui also hoping to take revenge for the financial submission her parents' family had been forced into by the Ushimiyas. Schemed to capture the Ushimiya family's wealth. From the trial synopsis, page 4. Knowing that the wealth of the Ushimiya family was, in practical terms, under Kinzo's personal control, she initiated sexual relations to curry favor with him and managed to ensnare him. From the trial synopsis, page 4, from the Burn Castell docs, page 682. To curry favor with Kinzo, Natsui repeatedly imitated Beatrice, the witch of Kinzo's delusions, and engaged in sexual acts. Kinzo saw his long-lost mistress in Natsui and was easily ensnared. Furthermore, by chance, she was sometimes witnessed in this guise by the servants, and this became part of the foundation for the legend of the witch. From the trial synopsis, page 8, from presented evidence number 17, from the Burn Castell docs, page 802. Yeah, it's fascinating because this is part of the Answers arc, but most of what's happened has been proven to be misdirection. I think because the original Japanese version didn't call this the Answers arc. The first 4 episodes are called Umineko no Naku Koro ni, and then the second 4 arcs are called Umineko no Naku Koro ni Chiru. So they just added an extra character onto the name. But in the English version, of course, they couldn't do it that way, and they wanted to put the words "when they cry" in the title to make the connection with Higurashi. So then, I guess that's where they came up with the idea of calling one half the questions arc and one half the answers arc. Like, we do get answers in the answers arc, but I'm not sure if it's the right word to describe the way that some of these stories are written. Completely. Also, I mentioned this before, but it's kind of interesting. Natsui's character design was actually originally going to be Beatrice's character design, but then they decided to change Beatrice into a blonde with a different type of dress to kind of show off that part of her personality and to kind of make her, I guess, more colorful as a rival for Battler. The relatives were however, late at night on October 4th, 1986, Ushimiya Battler discovered the hidden gold. The relatives were in an uproar and decided that Battler should succeed the headship, so Natsui planned the crime. She murdered the children in the so-called cousin room and tried to frame Battler for the crime. Furthermore, Genji was murdered for opposing this scheme. Later on, Hideyoshi was also murdered. From this point on, she displayed the strong intent to indiscriminately murder all those involved. From the trial synopsis, page 27, from supplemental materials B, page 61, from the Burn Castell docs, page 1103. The following outlines the detail of the crime. Yeah, how do we make Beatrice appear evil and make it very apparent? Oh, I know, make her blonde. 24 o'clock, October 4th, 1986. Natsui decided to commit the crime. She asked Genji to assist her, but was refused, so she murdered him. She then murdered her husband Kraus in his own room. From the trial synopsis, page 40. From supplemental materials S, page 8. From the Bernkastel docs, page 1105. From GC Internal Docs General Affairs A09, number 9974. Afterwards, she went to the so-called cousin room on the second floor of the guest house, waited for Rosa to join the rest, and killed George, Jessica, Maria, and Rosa. She damaged the necks of those corpses. Afterwards, because there were people in the lounge on the first floor, she waited in an empty room on the second floor. She hid in this empty room until the people in the lounge dispersed and went to bed. From the trial synopsis, page 41. From supplemental materials S, page 10. From the Bernkastel docs, page 1131. From GC Internal Docs General Affairs A09, number 9974. The people in the lounge dispersed just after 3 o'clock a.m. Natsui left the empty room and escaped from the guest house. She returned to her personal room where she met up with Kinzo, who had been hiding there. She stayed there until morning. Kinzo left the room early the next morning and concealed himself somewhere near the guest house. From the trial synopsis, page 41. From supplementary materials S, page 29. From the Bernkastel docs, page 1200. From GC Internal Docs General Affairs A09, number 9974. Afterwards, Kinzo saw his chance and carried off the corpses of the 6 victims, one by one, hiding them. Unfortunately, these hidden corpses have not been found. From the trial synopsis, page 42. From supplemental materials S, page 37. From GC Internal Docs General Affairs A09, number 9974. Natsui, who had failed in her scheme to cast suspicions on Badler, changed her plan to include the murder of all present. From the trial synopsis, page 58. From supplemental materials T, page 19. From the Bernkastel docs, page 1348. From GC Internal Docs General Affairs A09, number 9974. Predicting that one of those present would eventually want to take a rest in a private room, Natsui concealed herself inside a closet in one of the guest rooms. At about 1 o'clock p.m., she murdered Hideyoshi after he entered that room. From the trial synopsis, page 61. From supplemental materials T, page 26. From GC Internal Docs General Affairs A09, number 9974. From the time the others became aware of the incident to the time that they carried Hideyoshi's corpse out, Natsui once again concealed herself in the closet. Furthermore, as proof of this, a button from Natsui's clothes was found in the closet. Afterwards, she left the closet and tried to return to her room. However, Furuto Erika found and questioned her first, and she confessed to the crime. From the trial synopsis, page 63. From supplemental materials T, page 32. From presented evidence 26. From Bernkastel docs, page 1348. From the Lambda Delta docs, line 7. From GC Internal Docs General Affairs A09, number 9974. From GC Internal Docs, first subsection U99, number 0107. From GC Official Notice number 0172. Gosh, there's so much to read. Oh, extra. 4434. Thank you. Why did they leave that part extra? GC Official Notice number 0172. 4434. Due to the result of Illusion Trial number 0147-007982, 24 o'clock, October 5th, 1986, we announce that the following has been determined. You commend me for reading the citations? I already started, I can't stop now. That Ushimi and Natsui did admit to her crime. For 13 months following this announcement, related docs may be perused at the Great Court Legal Office's Document Management Center, first subsection. Great Court Deputy Chief, Head Inquisitor of Heresy, Delanor A. Knox. Then let's all assume that— then let's all assume I did do it, okay? That's what you want me to say, right? Ugh. As though she'd given up and decided it'd be useless to try and talk her way out of this any longer, Aunt Nazi screamed that out. It was a sad incident. I want to believe that despite the pitiable circumstances that led to her marriage in the Ushimi family, Natsui just might have been able to grasp a sliver of happiness together with Uncle Kraus and Jessica. However, by Aunt Natsui's own doing, Uncle Kraus, and even her beloved daughter Jessica, had been heartlessly killed. It was even hard to believe the grandfather had been an accomplice and hid the corpses. However, judging by the clear testimony given by several people who knew him, grandfather's mental state for these last few years has been far from what anyone would consider normal. Perhaps possessed by a mad devotion to the mistress he had lost long ago, grandfather might truly have believed that Aunt Natsui was a reincarnation of Beatrice. Where is grandfather now? Like Erica had theorized, did he really believe that he could revive Beatrice by carrying out murders, following the epitaph, succumbing to Natsui's cajolery? Right now, is he holding some kind of disturbing ceremony with the bodies he carried away? Are you satisfied now? This is what you wanted to make me say, right? As Natsui sobbed as she spoke. This is your revenge, isn't it? You, the man from 19 years ago. Hey Lei, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for stopping by. Good to see you. This man from 19 years ago that Aunt Natsui kept mentioning was supposedly someone who had caught her in some sort of trap. However, she had only mentioned that this man from 19 years ago existed, and she most certainly hadn't tried to explain what had happened 19 years ago. I'm sure that man's underling is one among us here. I'm sure that right now that man is ridiculing me through one of you. Then tell me, are you happy now? Has a bit of that pain and suffering you've endured for 19 years gone away? I finally understand. The reason you've courted me so far is because you wanted to make me acknowledge that, right? Natsui-san, other than us, there's absolutely no one here. Please stop this insanely desperate charade, and quit pretending that someone who doesn't actually exist actually does. Erica laughed mockingly, but as Aunt Natsui looked at us... No, as she looked at some being behind us, she hung her head and shook. Then, she confessed to her sin. I committed murder. So you finally acknowledged your crime directly. No, this is not about what has happened today and yesterday. I will confess to a murder that occurred 19 years ago. The adults all whispered together, wondering what this was all about, because they had never heard about a murder case 19 years ago. 19 years ago, I committed a sin. I couldn't forgive it. That baby... Baby? Now what are you talking about? On that day 19 years ago, Father entrusted me with a baby. Since I still couldn't bear a successor on my own, Father told me to adopt a child, and he made me hold a baby that he said he had brought here from an orphanage. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was to me as a woman? With a mix of conflicting emotions, of anger, sadness, regret, and possibly defiance, Aunt Natsui confessed. Her humiliation as a woman when she was no longer expected to bear a child, and also the indescribably unpleasant feeling of being made to hold an unfamiliar baby. It caused her great sadness and rage. And before many, many nights passed, it ate a hole into her heart. And then, I sold my soul to demons. It happened when I went on a walk through the rose garden to the harbor, along with a servant holding the baby. I wanted to be alone, but that female servant holding the baby faithfully followed me everywhere. I was unable to even tell her to stop following me, and therefore unable to escape from the child's crying. That day marked the beginning of 19 long, headache-filled years. Then we faced the cliff from across the fence. If by taking that baby and throwing it down onto the rocky beach far below me, I could undo it all. I really did listen to that demon's temptation. Then, for the smallest of moments, I thought of how wonderful it would be if I really could do that, and lent an ear to that temptation. At that time, the servant holding the baby stepped onto a large rock, twisted her ankle, and staggered. She leaned against a rough fence, and at that time I thought I heard the fence creak loudly. I told her to look out and tried to grab her shoulder. No, I shouldn't be so vague. I'll repent. I'll confess. At that moment, I'm sure that as I told her to look out, with both hands, I reached for that servant's shoulder and with a thud, pushed her away hard. The rough fence snapped from the base, and the servant, along with the baby held in her arms, fell down towards the rocky beach below. Even though I remember that moment vividly, for some reason I recall a vague and very strange feeling. I almost felt as though instead of falling, the two of them were silently swallowed up into empty space. So I didn't even hear the sound of them crashing to the rocky beach. No, I'm sure I heard it, but because I wanted to think that they disappeared, I must have erased that sound from my memory. And then, for an instant, I thought it was a dream. It was high enough that I couldn't see the two of them below me just by leaning over, so I didn't know whether their fall, or the few seconds before that, had actually happened or not. I must have been wishing so strongly the child would fall that I just had a daydream. Trying to make myself believe this, I hurried back to the rose garden. Then I decided to let the servant take care of the baby, choosing to take a rest alone in the garden. Then, Father asked what had happened to the baby, and an uproar began over the disappearance of the servant, who had been in charge of it. Eventually, the broken fence was discovered, and two corpses were found at the bottom of the cliff. The child had apparently been here for reasons that couldn't become known, so his existence was hushed up. And the official story was that the servant had had an accident on her own and died. That's right. I stole away two innocent lives in one go. As for the poor servant, her family was graciously compensated. Her aged husband, who didn't know the truth, accepted this even though he grieved over the unfortunate incident. Then, just a few years ago, he died of old age, and I confessed the truth over his grave, apologizing. But until this day, I have never apologized to that baby. Yes, that's what you're after, isn't it? So right here, right now, I'll confess to my crime. I, Ushimiya Natsui, did 19 years ago push you off a cliff and tried to kill you. But you didn't die, did you? You're still alive, and you still call me mother. You came to this island and took your revenge on me, didn't you? For these 19 years, you knew that the one you should have called your mother pushed you off a cliff, and you must have lived a very hate-filled life. And now you've taken everything I've gained since pushing you off that cliff, 18 years of my life, and smashed it all to pieces. I no longer have my beloved husband and daughter, and I've even lost my honor. And I'm being called a murderer. No, I really am a murderer, aren't I? Yes, that's right. It all went according to your plans. I'm now regarded as a killer. How's that? Is this enough? For your revenge? My husband and daughter have been killed. I've been made to look like a murderer, like an adulteress even. Even after seeing me in disgrace like this, are you satisfied? Yes, I bet you're quite satisfied, because my family, my honor, everything has been stolen from me. Oh. Ugh. After all this, do you still claim that you were framed? Seriously, you just don't know when to give up. Can you hear me? You, the accursed child from 19 years ago. Are you satisfied now? You've stolen everything from me now. What else could you want? Please, just forgive me. It's useless, isn't it? Huh? Badler-san, did you say something? It's all useless. Badler-kun. Yeah, It's useless, isn't it? It's all useless. Because for those of you that came in late, Battler lost his argument against Eleanor at the beginning of the stream, and then he got stabbed by a red truth sword and died, and disappeared. So that's why he hasn't been speaking up this whole time. So that's the ending of episode 5, but don't forget, there is a tea party and a question mark, question mark, question mark left. In other words, the epilogue. So we're not quite done yet. It's okay, Battler. It's hard to win an argument against someone who argues with a sword. Battler needs to learn to be a martial artist. So, if I recall correctly, the tea party is pretty short. It's like 15 to 20 minutes, and then the question mark, question mark, question mark section is like 80 minutes or something like that. So, I haven't decided how I'm going to split this on YouTube, but I will split it. So I'm not sure if I'll have the ending and the tea party in one video, and then the question mark, question mark, question mark in another. Or maybe I'll do the ending in one video, and then do tea party with the question mark together. Either way, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is continued, or that will be continued in another video, but if we're doing this on stream, we're going to continue and do the rest of the epilogues right now.